That was one of the outcomes of your
Yeah.
from the lab.
Yeah, the
from
lab.
the computer lab.
And the interesting enough is the university also saw the need of nurturing the ideas. Coming from the village.
Yeah, with avocados.
Yeah, that was a gift.
Yes.
In high school, and you have avocados.
Yes.
You're the king of the school.
Yes.
So I had my avocados, and then I got lost at UTC.
Hello, wonderful people. Welcome back. And today we are talking about, this is the second episode, by the way, we are talking about Chumz. And today I want us to talk about what is the story, the behind the scenes of Chumz. And I still have Sam here with me. So Sam, let's dive into it.
Yeah.
What is the story of Chumz?
Yeah, so I believe if part of giving a story behind Chumz is part of giving a story behind me.
Sure.
And where the journey began.
Yeah.
For me personally, I've grown up in Gatondo.
Wow. Chumz came from Gatondo.
So there are two Gatondos. There's one called Gatondo North, another one called Gatondo South.
Okay. So which one is this?
They're both rural, but I would say there's one more rural than the other.
Than the other.
Yeah, so I happen to live in both of them. So I grew up in Gatondo North, where, just a village boy picking coffee, taking it to the coffee mill.
Yes.
Going to the shamba.
Yes.
With your folks.
Yes.
Yeah, and then from there, I moved to Gatondo South.
Gatondo South.
Yeah, so that's where my mom has been a teacher.
Yes.
So there, that's where I did my studies in a public school called Gatondo Primary.
Yes.
A very interesting school, as you'd expect. Again, how it is growing up in a public primary school.
Yeah.
You're having your githeri, you're just doing all that. And in all that phase, for me, I hadn't been exposed to computers. But I had that curiosity, which, as you'd expect, it's one that if you see something new, you'd be very interested in understanding what it is, how it operates. Yeah, so from Gatondo, I was lucky enough to go to high school, and that I would say that was my first foray into Nairobi.
Yeah.
So I happened to be admitted here in Nairobi school.
Okay.
So in Nairobi school, that's where now I got to see.
You entered the city.
I entered the city. And truth to the story is, I got lost a few times. So I always tell people what used to happen was, if you come from Gatondo during that time, you'd alight and board the matatu at Ngara, somewhere near Equity Bank.
Yes.
You know where Ngara Equity Bank is?
I know where it is.
Yeah, so you'd alight there, and then from there I get a number 9, matatu number 9.
Number 9.
Alights in town.
Yes.
I alight in town, and then take a matatu from Kangemi. From Kangemi, I alighted Westlands, where Nairobi school is. It just happened that there's this one day.
That was a good school, by the way.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, so there's this one day where, the matatu didn't stop at Equity in Gara.
Yes.
It went all the way to OTC.
Oh dear.
Yeah. So and me and I had come with my bag and avocados and coming from the village.
Yeah, with avocados.
Yeah, that was a gift. In high school, and you have avocados.
Yes.
You're the king of the school.
Yes.
So I had my avocados, and then I got lost at UTC.
Yes.
I did several rounds trying to find my way. So it was those interesting learning experiences. Yeah. So now in high school, that's when I had my first interaction with
computers at Nairobi school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It also happened that I had very good mentors there. One called Mr. Martin Mungai. I always say I can't just take credit of all this without mentioning him, because when he saw I had that interest, he made sure I had more access to the computers. To the computers.
You had a computer lab or? Yeah,
the computer lab. Also happened during that time. The government was, I think they were trying the first initiative around schools having internet. And Nairobi school was one of the study cases around the school that were given internet and see, how it could be utilized in the school. Yeah. So from that bit, I nurtured that interest, but more so, I saw it as a window of seeing the world in a very wide way. So a case in point, areas that were very interesting to me, or if it's certain studies that were very niche, but they were very much of interest to me. Online, I would find a tribe that was interested in that. Yeah, so I did a lot of discovery. During that time, I also had a lot of interest in just spending my time in the library, just reading a few things, things people used to say that are not, they won't be in the exam.
Yes.
But I just had interest in those spaces.
Nice.
So part of that interest was how computers and overall technology was doing those paradigm shifts in the markets, both economically, social mobility, the fact that just one innovation would move people, from poverty to where they are sustainably growing their wealth, or their fortunes to, to somewhere they are at least comfortable. So that got me interested, and with that, I think the core facet or the most powerful pillar in all that is the business side of it. Business being, or profit being, an incentive around building these solutions. Yeah, so for me, at that point, I saw the intersection of technology and business, and I got interested in that.
Right in high school?
Yeah, in high school. So all I used to do was just go through a lot of articles around that online.
So you are not using computers to play games like some of us, or other things that you would be of interest to people in high school?
Funny enough, I used to play games, but I think I was always, that allure of just reading new things was, or those new shiny things, was a core focus or a lot of interest for me. Yeah, so from that beat now, I knew what I wanted to do in college or in campus was something computer related. Yeah, and I saw that in terms of not just as a business or work or being employed in that space, but as something that has, in literal sense, has an impact on people's lives. The fact that you could be with your laptop, an idea, and build something around it. Yeah, so in a way, I was lucky that I had people who nurtured that talent and also, or that interest. And also I got to see where my interests lie very early on. So coming now to university, I just did.
Which university did you?
University of Nairobi.
Oh.
Yeah.
The university.
Yeah, the University of Nairobi.
The university.
Yeah, so there I did computer science.
Okay.
I was very comfortable with it. And there I still expanded my mind around businesses that are built around that. There's one lecturer of mine called Professor Agasha, who used, to this day, he still laughs saying, when there was coursework, I was reading other things. But he says how the two intermarry. Yeah, so now out of that, immediately after graduation, for me, I didn't go to formal employment. What I did was I went to the institution. I requested them, now because you have an extra lab in this in the school, and I have graduated, can I be using this to build something? And it's a very radical idea at that point, because people just graduate and they want to get out of campus. And then
turn it into your home.
And obviously coming from Gatondo, I had to look for somewhere now in town where I could stay. So from that, I looked for a place along Wayakibe, where now I would be commuting for around 30, 40 shillings. I'm in Chiromo, that's where the lab is, and I build ideas around there. So that's where now I would say I sharpened my my skills around, it's one thing to understand coding, programming. It's another thing to understand how building businesses around that, or things of impact, and how to work with people. That's a very different skill set. So out of that now, I started building several ideas. One of the original companies, which is very popular in the space, was called Chura, dealing with payments, still operational and sustaining. Has partnered with quite a number of entities.
That was one of the outcomes of your from the lab.
The
computer lab.
And the interesting enough is the university also saw the need of nurturing the ideas. So they started building an incubation hub. And they were, we were among the team I got there first, were among the people who were, they were doing a bit of research on what do you need, what have you seen in other labs that lacks here. So I always feel that was something very instrumental in that phase, not just for us,
Yeah.
but also for the university and for the school. The lab is still there. There are people who are working from there.
Yeah.
I occasionally go there to,
To
give
motivate
talks,
them. Yeah.
and talks. Like I was there last December for the guys who are joining university.
From Gatundo to that lab.
From Gatundo, yes.
And from that lab to Chumz.
Yeah, so from there, we got into another group with other people from different fields, built this company called Weza. Weza basically has been building...
Weza or Weza?
Weza.
Weza.
Weza.io.
Okay.
So Weza core focus has been building credit scoring solutions.
Okay.
And again, the whole goes back to the whole idea of impact.
Yeah.
So ability of, and what we're doing with that is ability to credit score people who are unbanked, connect them to financial institutions. On the other hand, because there's a gap, the financial institutions are not able to determine who to lend the people who are unbanked. We give them those scores and they can lend to them or give credit.
Yeah.
So it was in that journey and part of that process that involved a lot of analysis, of data that we realized you have very scarce data or very little data or very thin data of people who are saving and investing. Yeah, so and the question was,
So Weza was on the lending side, so supporting the
building lending infrastructure. All the
Infrastructure.
apps, the credit scoring engines,
Yes.
the back end, and we had done that for quite a number of entities.
Yes.
Several companies in Kenya, Uganda, Ghana, banks in Haiti, banks in Ethiopia.
And now you're doing this as Sam, or are you doing this as a group of people?
All this is a
or
team.
in a company?
In a team.
In a
Like
team.
this one, for Weza, it was a team of around 16 people.
16 people.
Yeah. Different skill
individuals
sets.
coming together?
Coming together, yes.
Without necessarily being in a company?
Yeah, coming together and then you get employees.
So you just build an ecosystem?
An ecosystem.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the company is still there, running infrastructures across several markets. Yeah, so while there, that's when, now in those analysis, what was common in all these developing markets is the unbanked don't have channels for saving and investing. So then the next logical question as an entrepreneur is, why is this the case? So that now took us down the path of trying to see why we don't have people saving and investing. And what was interesting, people see the sense and they understand why they need that. They understand that they need to save today so that they can save themselves tomorrow. Like
I like that.
Very clear in their mind.
You need to save today so that you can save yourself
tomorrow. Yes. And
that's a nice one.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, so it's very clear. And just to draw a parallel, what we saw the issue is saving, we saw is very akin to going to the gym or to exercise. It's one of those things, or even insurance, it's one of those things people see very clearly its value, its use. But there's a psychological barrier to bring themselves
to. It needs to be done, but they still don't do it.
Yeah, so they're like, there's a gap there. But they know with enough effort they can do it. It's a classic problem with any habit forming processes or actions. So from that, what we asked ourselves is, then how do you enable people to save and invest? Yeah, so
the 16 people.
Sorry?
The 16 people.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's Weza, and then so part of the Weza is the one that now formed this research for Chumz. Yeah, and then now grew it into a company. Just focusing on this.
There was a breakaway from the Weza team.
I would call it more as a partnership.
As a partnership. Yeah.
Because a lot of resources, infrastructure, you already done for banks and all these other entities. So in that, now the question was, how do you build that platform? Where do you start? How do you enable people to save?